right, and we're live.
Well, the show's live. I don't know about us.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's been kind of a week. All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday, January 29th, 2021. Today, we're talking Apple earnings, executive shakeups, and more because this is the iMore show. Joining me, as always, is our resident contributor, Karen Freeman. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm all right. And one of the reasons I'm all right is I get to talk to you, but also that I get to talk to one of our favorite special guests, Mr. Rene Ritchie of youtube.com/Rene Ritchie fame.
I woke up on a pile of half-eaten, half-inebriated stonks this morning, Joe, and I have no idea what's happening in the world.
just in a daze of stocks, huh?
Giant pile of stonks.
Oh, you are the stonks meme at this point.
I am, except that arrow is pointing right through my skull, so I don't know what to make of that.
Oh man, I'll be honest, I don't really understand the stock market too much. Stocks go up, they go down. I don't know what exactly is happening.
The thing about this that was so funny is that it sounded at first like it was a meme, like a bunch of Redditors decided to take it to the hedge funds, and now that they're investigating, it looks like the people behind it might have actually been market people manipulating Reddit to manipulate other market people, and it's peak 2021, and I really needed a break.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Like if 2020 was the year where everything seemed to go off the rails and we couldn't really divine why, but everything that went wrong or right or weird felt, yeah, okay, that feels in line with 2020. 2021 seems to be the year where we're getting a peek behind the curtain of why things go off the rails. And so it's like 2020 plus is really what this is. 2020S, let's call it.
Like 2020 ate the adults and now 2021 is eating the kids.
I'm not turning 34 this year. I'm turning 33S. That's what we're going to call it.
Oh, nice. Nicely played.
Yeah, that's my thing. So let's start off with some news. There was kind of a lot of it this week, and I think the big thing from the beginning of the week is there was a big executive shakeup at Apple. So let's dive into that a little. Renee, Dan Riccio, the longtime head of hardware, of SVP of hardware engineering, is taking a new role somewhere at Apple, some mysterious role at Apple, and John Ternus is stepping into that SVP role. So what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so Dan Riccio took over. So originally we had Big Bob Mansfield, and Bob Mansfield ran hardware, and then he got given a new division called Platform Technologies to run. And then when he retired, hardware went to Dan Riccio, and eventually Platform Technologies went to John Cerrugi, which is where we got all this wonderful Apple silicon from. And then Bob Mansfield came back to take Titan off of Dan Riccio's plate because Dan Riccio had entirely too much on his plate. Man's tried to ship an iPhone every year. That's not an easy job. So Bob Mansfield came to help with that. And then Mansfield left, and John Gianandrea took over Titan, who's Apple's head of AI and machine learning. And finally now Dan Riccio is stepping aside to go into a secret project, which is probably not Titan because he already gave up Titan, and John Gianandrea just took it over last month, which was like Titan being Apple's automation and car project. But as far as I know, Dan Riccio still runs the VR project. And since there's been a lot of rumors about VR, it's quite possible that as that becomes closer to maturity, it's taking up a lot more time, and Dan can give it that time while he hands off the rest of hardware to John Ternus, who's been helping him run it for the last 3 years, and is not, as Karen might assume, a character from Grey's Anatomy who once dated Meredith.
John Ternus. So John Ternus, for those unfamiliar, I think John Ternus he did a lot of the heavy lifting during the presentation of the M1 Max back in the fall. Yeah. Yes?
Yes. He did the iPad Pro redesign in 2018, the Mac Pro redesign in 2019, and then the M1 launched last year. It's all one big year.
He had the sort of ignominious responsibility of introducing among other things, the $1,000 stand for the Pro Display XDR, I believe.
Yeah, scarred for life.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's an interesting move. I don't, I personally don't have any particular opinions one way or the other on this, except that I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it shows that like there's only so much room at the top of a company, and every company faces that. Especially companies. Apple's not a startup; they've been around for decades and decades, and there's only so much room at the top. There's only so many senior vice presidents at Apple, but you have super talented people coming up. And we saw recently Phil Schiller. He didn't leave Apple. He took a job as an Apple fellow, and he's still running events, and he's still running the App Store and a couple other things. But that let Greg Joswiak, who's been there for a long time, become senior vice president of marketing. And in the same way, Dan Riccio, he's not going anywhere. He's staying at Apple. He's taking on this project, but it allows John Turnus to step up and become the new senior vice president of retail. So, sorry, not retail, of hardware. So it seems like they have too many good people, and they're trying to make some room at the top for these people without losing the other good people that are already there.
Also, maybe Apple's creating a whole new division that Dan Riccio is going to be heading up. And so they don't want to tell us yet because they don't want to tell us what that big project is. Some new, some new product that's coming out. So,
hot tubs, isn't it? It's hot tubs, Karen. You don't you?
Yeah, Apple hot tubs. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Karen. One of the things I keep thinking about is, AR and VR are these sort of increasingly important areas of focus for Apple. And Renee, you brought up maybe Dan Riccio is headed off to handle the VR project specifically. I would assume that also includes AR, just given the level of shared resources I feel like those can have. So I think maybe having a division sort of around that might make some sense, especially if we're getting materially closer to an actual product.
Yeah.
I need an Apple helmet.
A
so when I fall
car.
down, it protects my head.
Yes.
It could be a car or drones. Those drones that people can be inside.
Robot vacuum cleaners.
Oh gosh. Because we don't have enough robot vacuum cleaners.
House bots.
Apple's first robot vacuum cleaner, it comes with, its revolution is it sprouts legs so it can walk up your stairs.
It's R2.
Yeah, although I have to say, if Apple did make a robot vacuum, it probably would be a lot better than what's on the market now. And a lot more expensive too.
Would be one feature that would just make everybody super angry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that would be in the second generation.
Like it won't do carpets.
Or you can't empty the bag yourself or something.
Yeah.
You got to buy a new one when the bag is full.
It uses a proprietary laser-based internal dust removal system. So it just zaps away all the dust instead of having to use environmentally harmful bags.
And it leaves a ring on your carpet.
I mean, they'll call it the Clean Pod. They'll sell it for $12.99, and you have to buy the charging base separately. But it comes with a cord.
Tangent. But did you see that thing from Xiaomi yesterday where they're saying that they have distance charging? Like they have a 3D render at least for distance charging. And I just keep seeing where I look for the burning cats in the background, but I haven't seen any yet.
It's just, you touch something in your house after you charge something and it just fades away like in the Snap in Infinity War.
Oh, like a Romulan disruptor, not even a clean Federation phaser, but a Romulan disruptor.
Oh yeah. Just that's the stuff that kind of scares me. It's like, do you really got to get that right or you're going to fry a lot of people?
Or at least make sure there's no more people.
Yeah. So the other big piece of news this week, moving on a little bit, the other big piece of Apple news this week is they made, just checking the numbers here, all of the money. They made every bit of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of us have money anymore because Apple has all of it.
Well, I know I own Apple stock, so I got maybe a little bit of that.
Oh my God. See, yeah, it's just $111.4 billion. That's the headline. That's it.
It's an inconceivable amount of money.
We
quarter.
think of these. Yeah, we try to really make these amounts, well, to steal your word, Karen, conceivable. But we see the 111.4, and I think that's really where our minds stop.
So is that 111, 400, 000,
00, Probably. I can't do all that in my head. I need to see it written down.
Yeah, it's very many zeros and commas is what you really need to know, Renee. It's just.
So are people finally going to stop saying Apple is doomed? Apple's going down the drain.
See, it's fun that you think that's going to happen, because in initial trading on Thursday morning, the day after they reported these truly record results, they started down like 2%.
Yeah, I know Apple stock isn't actually doing particularly well at the moment, but the whole market isn't. So
for some reason, who could say?
Usually, like in any given year, the Apple is doomed thing is like real, because and as we've learned over the last couple of days, that's how hedge funds work. They make short bets on stocks and then do anything they can to force those down. And Jim Cramer about 10 years ago gave a remarkable interview where he was talking and saying, like, we're doing this with BlackBerry already, and now we're starting to do it with Apple. So what you do is you call your friends in media and you say, I heard, Verizon doesn't like the new phone, and they just love bad Apple stories. So they'll publish those, and then that'll create negative sentiment. Then every other website will cover it, and that'll drive the stock down. And you see that every year before earnings, like Nikkei or Wall Street Journal or somebody will publish really negative, baseless, factless Apple, store, like the screens aren't ready, or the batteries aren't working, or Apple's cutting supply, and the stock price goes down. And all those hedge funds, according to Jim Cramer, that's how they pay their bills. And so it's just a vast array of market manipulation every year leading into Apple. And this year they were distracted by GameSpot or something. Yeah.
It's just, I think it goes to show we don't do enough to prosecute white collar crime in this country.
Yes.
That they do this. Because, someone correct me here if I'm wrong, but stock manipulation is illegal.
And he said it on tape. And as far as I know, he's got a show now. So, it's fine.
Like he's still, I think Jim Cramer's still on the air. They haven't gotten him yet. And so they don't care if he says it. What these people do is just flat out stock manipulation. They are maybe it's because they're not outright lying. They're bending the truth. You get one Verizon executive complaining about the iPhone, and then suddenly Verizon is unhappy with the iPhone.
The thing that impressed me the most, though, is that we've seen Apple hurt in iPhone sales before, especially when we approached the saturationing, which was everybody who had the first set of markets was not everyone had a smartphone. So you could get a lot of people converting to their first smartphone, but Apple was limited by AT&T. Then they went on Verizon, then on T-Mobile, and then China Mobile. They got all the easy growth from all the carriers, and they kept going more and more international. But eventually everyone who has an iPhone, everyone who wants an iPhone pretty much has it. And the population in the market is only so big. So for a few seasons, we saw iPhone volumes, iPhone sales volumes, iPhone profit volumes stagnating. But Apple built up these other businesses based on the iPhone, like all the services that provided significant revenue. There was even a quarter where non-iPhone revenue was higher than iPhone revenue. And then what we saw this quarter was just everything was firing. Everything got double-digit growth. Everything was up billions. And we saw finally, horrifically, gloriously, what Apple selling all the things, just all the things looks like.
Yeah, and I think the pandemic actually helped, because people are stuck home, so they're looking for more ways to entertain themselves. I spend more time on my iPad than I ever have in my whole life, because there's always something to do, something to read, something to watch on there. And so I think more and more people are buying iPads. People are trying to get into shape. They're buying Apple Watches. And then once you buy the products, then you start looking at the services, and it's just like a cycle.
Yeah, I as an iPad fan, I'm actually really happy about the iPad numbers. I like this. I like to see it. But yeah, just so they sold. What is 10? Is it 10 billion more in iPhone than they did the same quarter last year?
Yeah, Neil Cyborg's estimates around 80 million iPhones.
80
and I remember a decade ago talking to Dieter Bohn saying, is Apple ever going to sell 10 million iPhones?
But the quarters are a little bit skewed, because the iPhone came out a little later, and then the Pro Max and the Mini came out even later. So that pushed it into the next quarter, right?
Yeah, usually, I think usually the initial burst is in the previous quarter.
Right, that's what I'm
saying. Yeah, that's what you're getting at. Okay.
The other interesting thing is with margins, because their margins were towards the high end, and their margins really haven't changed much since the height of the Steve Jobs era. Like the culmination at 2011, they've been between 35 and 40%, and they're at like 39% right now. But services are so strong and service margins are so high, like service margins are 60% plus, that it does seem like they're making less money on hardware and it's just being hidden by the services revenue. And that's probably being eaten up by like OLED displays and 5G modems and some of the new manufacturing stuff they're doing. So they're making less, or they're willing to put more expensive parts into phones and make less profit per phone, making up for it by the ancillary ecosystem services they're selling on top of them, which is a smarter model, I think.
Right. The phone is almost like a loss leader at this point. Is that what you're saying? To get people.
It's hard to say a loss leader when you make that much money, but it's allowing them to invest into it more heavily in terms of keeping it like cutting edge.
Right.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this morning. You see how many iPhones Apple sold. How many iPhones we think Apple sold this quarter. Which Neil Seibert said around 80 million. You said, Renee?
Yeah, other reports were 90 million, but the math doesn't hold up for the ASPs if you go higher than 90 million.
Yeah, I saw him talking about that. But one of the things I was thinking about this morning is how happy I am. There's all this talk recently about how the iPhone 12 mini isn't doing too hot. And I was thinking about how this level of success that Apple's gotten makes me happy that products like the iPhone 12 mini exist. They seem more willing, and I'm also thinking about this in the context of services revenue. They seem more willing to fill niches that, at least in the past few years, it didn't feel like they were willing to go after. So people who want small phones might be a shrinking portion of the market, but I think the estimate's like it's 6% of the overall iPhone 12 mix, and that's probably enough for Apple. 6% of tens of millions of people is still millions.
Curious because like my big question going into this is that they split the market. The original, and we talked about this before, the original iPhone SE appealed to people who wanted a smaller iPhone and a cheaper iPhone, where this year they have a cheaper SE and a non-cheaper mini. So you're getting really only half the potential customers. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but you're not getting the full customer pool. You've split it in two. And I wonder what that does to both the SE and the mini going forward, if they try to merge like Voltron again at some point, or if they let them be their own things.
That would be amazing. Like when we get to the point where Face ID can travel down the line to the SE, which I would also imagine that doesn't happen until, if the current rumors are true about Touch ID in the screen, I would imagine that Face ID and screen-based Touch ID travel down the line at the same time, just so people who want Touch ID even in a smaller or a less expensive phone can get it. Oh no! Oh, there's Karen.
Am I back?
Yeah. We lost you for a second.
Yeah, I don't have
stormed off.
the Wi-Fi out in the wilderness here. I don't.
Yeah,
it just goes out sometimes.
But yeah, I like that Apple is starting to bring in these niche products, and I think the reason they're doing it is, we saw their services revenue this time around.
Yeah,
like the services is becoming an increasingly important part of their business, and we've been saying that for how many quarters?
630 million subscribers when you count in all the subscriptions through the App Store.
Exactly. And that number's only going to go up. And so if you have a wider base of hardware to offer people, from people who want really, really huge phones to people who want something that actually fits in their pocket, I think it's going to make a lot more people happier with the devices they can get from Apple, and I'm just glad to see it.
Can I just fact check something? Because Karen said wilderness, and I assume Canada is well known to have 3 cities scattered around the Arctic, but I assume the US was like Coruscant, where it's just one giant city from New York to LA.
Yeah, no, I don't really live in the wilderness. It's just that it's an ongoing issue that my spouse and I have both spent many hours screaming at the Wi-Fi company and switching back and forth between the two that are available. And there is no solution. We keep paying more and more money for faster Wi-Fi, and it doesn't get any better. There's not, short of forcing somebody to come out and dig up all the wires and plant them correctly. I don't know what to tell you. We lose Wi-Fi a couple times a day.
Yeah.
A couple minutes.
the Coruscant-like nature of the United States is really concentrated around, well, like 3 cities, maybe 4, and none of them
I
are
don't feel
here
so
in
bad then.
Yeah, no, I mean, I live in a well-populated suburb, not far from a large American city. I'm not really in the wilderness. I just like to say that because the Wi-Fi is terrible and the cellular is worse. So.
Because I'm 3 miles south from Hoth, so like, we all have different.
Well, yeah, I mean that's going to be the effect when you live north of the wall, Renee. That's
Yes, that's true.
Watch out for the trolls.
The giant people.
Yeah,
They're mostly just in search of Putin. They're fine.
Yeah, so I mean, these results are just absolutely astounding. Like it's like Karen said, we can't really conceive of the number 111.4 billion, and yeah, don't expect this next quarter. But what do you think is driving this? You know,
I think that the services drive profit. It's a classic sales model. You know, if you go to like Chick-fil-A, for example, they're always going to ask if you want a drink because they make like 3 cents on the chicken patties, but on the drink it's almost 100% profit because it's just a little bit of lemon juice and water, and a lot of water, a little lemon juice and sugar on the lemonade. But you know, that's really where they're making the money is in the beverages. So Apple has gotten past the point where they're just relying on their hardware to make money. They're making money on those services, which they have to cost them quite a lot less.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Except for Jennifer Aniston, she's not cheap.
Jennifer, no, she can't be. She was on Friends.
Yeah, but compared to, I'm sure she's paid in the millions per episode, but compared to 110 billion, it's a drop in the bucket.
That's enough to give 111 people $1 billion.
Yeah, it is, Renee.
Or 1 billion people, $111.
Almost as much as Elon Musk is worth.
Yeah. Actually, I was wondering what was the profit number this month? It was something like 22 billion. Or just
it was all the amazing things. Even with all the buybacks and all like everything that they've been doing, all the massive amount of money that they've been returning, they're still padding the bank account.
To be on that level, working with that level of money. This is why the GameStop thing is happening. It's because people want to be on that level and just keep generating money out of more money.
I don't want to say it's unique, and I don't want to say it's a super cycle because I think those are like, buzzwords. But you had a nice confluence. Not even nice. I can't say that. You had a confluence of people who needed more iPads and for work from home, school from home. The M1 Max, which drove the Mac, which still has a very small market share compared to PC. You had 5G in the iPhone, which wasn't a big story in the US, but is a big story in China. So China was way up. I forget the exact percentage, but it was middle double-digit increase for China. And all of those things came together to again, have all those products firing on the same page.
Yeah.
Which I think is not going to happen all that often, but will be super, super good for Apple when it does.
I do think the pandemic played a big part in it because, before the pandemic, as a parent, you would always be like, get off your screen, go outside and play, go call up a friend, go do this, be in this sport and play this activity. And now, what is everybody doing? We're all sitting home on our screens.
And now it's, please God, just spend some time on your phone. I need to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that.
Is that what you're telling the staff, Joe? Is that what you're telling the staff?
No, certainly not.
Stephen, get back on your iPad. Joe needs to work.
Yeah. Just write about news, Stephen. But yeah, it's mind blowing to me. Like, I can't imagine them seeing a similar result even next time. Maybe the holiday quarters hover around here now, but like 111.4 billion, that's got to be like a once in every couple of years type of thing.
Yeah, it just was the perfect storm. The late iPhone, the pandemic, the new services, and
I think this year like in the last 12 months, really, that was the perfect time to launch an indoor workout service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're already making more money than companies that had oligopoly control over fossil fuel resources. And it's just upwards from there, it turns out.
Wild to me. Like, and you can take this and, you can look at that services revenue and you can see, oh, this is why iMessage is never coming to Android.
Or the opposite, you could say this is why iMessage has to. They could charge $50 and you get a orange bubble.
See, I think that's a point well taken, but at the same time I look at it and it's like, well, aren't they going to make just like so much and like infinitely more money if they can get you to buy an iPhone for iMessage?
It depends on the market, because like in the US, they have over 50% now of the market share. But in other countries, like especially Europe, especially India, they have very, very small market share. And that's probably not going to change just because of pricing dynamics. Like when you look at how much iPhones cost outside America, even in Canada, the exchange is part of it, but it's higher. And in countries where they have to pay heavy duties, like Brazil, like India, they're just astronomically more expensive.
Yeah, and I don't know how it is in Canada, but outside of the US, I know in Europe, I have friends in Europe and they all use WhatsApp, which Americans don't use that much, but it's apparently a good enough platform that anybody on any phone can use it. And
Latin America and China's all about WeChat.
Yeah, right. WeChat in Asia. So they don't feel the need to all be on the same messaging platform.
I feel like
on their phones.
And I feel like for a lot of those areas that comes down, well, WhatsApp's popularity, at least initially, was it circumvented the texting plans.
Exactly.
Especially I think those countries held on to, because I think texting plans are like largely gone here, at least from the major carriers in the US.
Yes.
Like you get talk, text, and data all wrapped up into one.
Right. Nobody counts texts anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing we still segment really is data. Like, does T-Mobile really care how long I'm on a call? I don't think they do. But the data, they do care. And so it was really about circumventing the texting limitation. So you don't really pay per text on on the data.
But it stuck because it works well. I mean, now we're hearing about all kinds of privacy issues and stuff, but it's been the big thing for a long time there.
Yeah, also, Craig, I mean, WhatsApp basically exists because BBM wouldn't go cross-platform, and they started off copying every single feature from BlackBerry Messenger, and then making it cross-platform, like literally feature for feature, and then they became more valuable than BlackBerry was, and Facebook bought them. Now they're losing customers to Telegram, but that's an ancillary issue.
Yeah, Telegram and Signal. Signal is the other big one. They've
which is getting stickers. Finally,
Signal is getting stickers. That's just a weird notion.
Gary Hildebrand must be crying into his adult beverage.
Oh man, someone ought to be. It's weird to me to see Signal really sort of popping up like it is. But yeah, I think we talked about this last week, Renee. But we've got one app we have to contend with now is Beeper, which is that one that pulls together every service and sends you.
It's a novelty. That's not.
Yeah, it's Eric's
not a viable solution.
Eric, who made the Pebble and sold that off, and made the BlackBerry Watch before that. He's a smart guy, but I think it's always going to be an edge product.
And now he'll send you a jailbroken iPhone 4S.
Yeah, bless his nerdy little heart.
It's wild. It's wild to me. And actually, I talked about this last week, but Beeper is one of those apps that I kind of wish the Messages app would be, where I could put a bunch of different kinds of messaging services. I know, a lot of developers.
That was WebOS synergy. That was the whole thing, and nobody ever copied it.
Yeah. Yeah. WebOS had a lot of good ideas, and nobody listened.
Turns out.
Yeah.
BlackBerry tried. The BlackBerry Hub did that too, but nobody cared after that.
All I can tell you is I have one good friend who is not on an iPhone, and texting back and forth with her is like torture, because I would say 1 out of every 10 texts just will not go through.
So I guess
I just want it to work.
I guess what we're really saying here is, for Karen's sanity and the sake of her friendships, let's get iMessage on Android.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got those. I mean, on Android, it works a lot. This sort of thing doesn't work like this on iOS, but on Android, you can get whole-on texting apps that will replace the Messages app on that system. And so Apple could do that.
The whole thing for me is like cross-platform and services, two things Apple historically not been great at. And you're going to add like 1 billion potential customers onto your rickety server infrastructure.
Yeah, all at once. Like as many people as can down. I bet you, as many people as could download iMessage for Android would absolutely do it. Yeah. So moving on from just all of the billions of dollars that Apple made, it was so many billions. I wanted to talk about, a couple of things, software related things from this week. First of all, we have new software updates across the board. Well, not completely across the board. Mac OS is still in the release candidate stage for 11.2. But yeah, we have watchOS 7.3, iOS 14.4, iPadOS 14.4, tvOS 14.4. So what's new with these? Not a lot.
Can read smaller QR codes.
Yeah.
I haven't had opportunity to test it out, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
QR code reading is a cool feature, and expanding that
glass doors.
is a plus.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a new, is it a security protocol, Renee?
Yeah, it's a way because they were having exploits on iMessage, and I guess through WebKit, but iMessage had chronically been having problems. Like people would hack it using Unicode parsing. So if you sent certain text strings, it would crash the phone. And now there were two really major remote exploits via iMessage. So they built a new blast door system to sort of firewall off everything. I just keep thinking of Star Wars. It's like close the blast doors. Like just to seal everything off to prevent attack. Yeah, the trap.
Oh, and in the comments, PhonePup mentioned for watchOS, there's that big update with ECG in more countries. So for a lot of people, that's going to make a big difference. That's actually
this is kind of a fun one. And from the release notes, it seems like Apple. This is for audio notifications, but you can now classify non-Apple Bluetooth devices in the Bluetooth menu on iOS. So you can say this accessory is headphones. This accessory is a Bluetooth CarPlay head unit. This is speakers. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it's one of those things that's nice to have. I think the big news kind of coming out of this is that this release, now that this is the public release, it clears the way for the next set of betas. That's what's really exciting. The next set of betas for iOS will introduce mandatory privacy notifications, tracking notifications. Is that what we're looking at here?
It's going to come out in the beta. The next beta that's going to come out imminently, probably this week. Next week. Time means nothing to me anymore.
Yeah.
After the weekend, and then the next release candidate after that.
Yeah, that's by the way, Renee, has become the motto of our show: is time means nothing.
Time is an illusion.
Time is an
flat
illusion.
Circle that's been turned into a donut.
But yeah, and this has got my favorite company in the world all riled up again.
So angry.
Oh my God.
They're suing. They're suing, Joe.
I have to think that Tim
Say
Cook,
the name. Say it.
Tim Apple.
Facebook. I have to think that Tim Cook has some kind of bounty program within Apple for feature designers, especially for the privacy team. We're like, okay, whoever makes Mark Zuckerberg's face the reddest gets a bonus this
His
month.
His face doesn't change color. They fixed that with lore well before they got to building data.
I mean, like that's the thing. That's the thing about Mark Zuckerberg is he like in every picture he's like sort of unflappable, but then you get him in front of Congress and flapping. He's
humanly asymptomatic.
Like, yeah, he's just so
simulated. If he turns his head, you see the polygons render.
I don't like him, and I don't like his company, and I don't make a secret of this. I've said it before. I know I'm supposed to be unbiased, but Facebook is my least favorite company that exists in our modern times. I can't say it's my least favorite company ever because like the East India Company existed, and that's its own whole thing. But yeah,
it's big social tobacco.
Big social tobacco.
Yes.
Oh, that was that you that coined that phrase, Renee? Because I saw you.
I hope so.
I saw your short this week about Facebook
Tim
being
Cook
mad
just
about
roasting Facebook. Yeah, that was so good.
did. So what was this? What was this speech he was giving? This is the day after. This is yesterday. This is right after
Yeah.
the announcement, the
Data
earnings announcement.
Privacy Day, which started in Europe and has become international, and he helped kick that off years ago with a speech where he outlined that privacy was a human right and that Apple stood for collecting as little data as possible, having security around that data, being transparent about the use of that data, basically their principles around data. And so this year they released a day in the life of your data, a PDF that lets you see it. And Tim Cook came back for a little follow-up speech over Zoom because we're all being responsible now, and he basically said that where is the accountability if your platform is being used to promote extremism and insurrection and all of these negative societal consequences? And you basically, if the cost of you running your company is this utter degradation of society, then your primary goal can't be monetizing attention and clicks and targeted advertising, that you need to be reformed. And it was fiery, like dark side Tim Cook, and I was all here for it.
Yeah, I love it when he puts Facebook to the fire. I do. I love it. Because he's right. Like there are a lot. Apple has its own problems. We know Apple has its own problems, but Facebook is, in my view, malignant at this point. The willful disregard of privacy, of standards of any kind, really. It's always fun to me to see Apple has done something to really make Mark Zuckerberg and the Facebook crew mad. And you said this, you alluded to this before, Renee, but it's made them so mad that they're suing Apple, or they're preparing to sue Apple.
Because Apple is a monopoly. It seems like nobody knows what the words free speech or monopoly actually mean anymore, because immediately they're like, Apple is censoring free speech by putting these tracking things in place. And you're like, no, free speech is a US only thing. And in the US, it says that Congress will make no laws curtailing freedom of speech, nothing about companies. And everywhere else in the world, they're like, oh, no, companies shouldn't be doing this. The government should. So please look up these words before you use them. And now monopoly is like, Apple has absolute control over you following the same principles that everyone else on the platform has to follow. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Apple, like this is the thing. Apple has a monopoly on its own platform.
Like Nintendo.
Yeah. Like Nintendo can say what you can put in the eShop. Now,
like Walmart.
Exactly. They say what goes on their stores. Now, I think I would love to see that open up a little bit. I've talked about this. I would love to see Apple's platform open up a little bit, but right now, Apple's treating the iPhone in particular as a console. You want a more open Apple platform. The Mac's right there. But it's not it's not one of the most popular platforms in the world.
No, and the thing is, like, I have problems with it too. Like, I think Apple's absolutely myopic, wrong-headed, and in the wrong direction of future by not allowing game streaming services to have the same kind of access that video streaming services have. But these are like small scale problems that will get sorted out, in a short arc of time. But Facebook being upset. Facebook is upset that they're giving us a choice. Like, that's all they're doing. They're not stopping Facebook from doing anything. And they're only giving us a choice over third-party tracking. Like, if you're on Facebook and you're in the knitting club, Facebook knows that. They're allowed to serve you as many ads as they want on knitting. What Facebook has to ask your permission to do now is, if you leave Facebook, go to another random website like Lego, and then come back to Facebook, they're not allowed to track you that you went to the Lego site outside of Facebook without asking you. It is entirely third-party cookie-based. And Facebook is so angry about this that they're suing. They're not angry. They're so angry that we're being given a choice over whether we let them track us or not, that they're suing. Not for us. We don't get anything out of them suing, but against us.
Think about how skewed. Like, this is, frankly, Facebook is capitalism at its worst. It is so angry about the idea of consumer choice, that a consumer would be informed that this is an option, that they are going to full out war with Apple, and they're not. Spoiler alert, they're not going to win.
And it's not even like capitalism dictates like the will of the market to a certain extent. And if Apple doing this and Google not doing it, Facebook should just compete. Well, there's two things. One, Facebook should be like Google, where Google says, if you give us your photos, we'll give you a better Photos app. If you give us your email, we'll give you a better email experience. We'll trade you something. There'll be a quid pro quo. You'll know what it is. And if you think it's worth it, you can do it. Facebook is like, we're not going to give you anything, and we don't want you to know about it.
Yeah. That's the thing is, since Facebook launched, 16 years ago? Oh my God, 16 years ago. Is it a materially better product for having all of this data on us?
It's because they're not using the data to, like, the analogy I came up with, which really offends a lot of people, but I'm not sorry for it, is that Apple is like going to a Michelin 3-star restaurant. It's expensive. You get what the chef wants, but more often than not, it's a good dinner. Google is like being taken out for a lobster feast. You sit there, you get a free lobster dinner, but they're going to be ogling you afterwards, and you just got to decide if that you're comfortable with that or not. Facebook is, you come in, you get a free buffet, but you have to eat it naked, and they probe you while you're eating it. And those are basically the arrangements we have in big tech.
That's awful.
But I don't know that it's wrong, Karen.
No, I didn't say it was wrong. I just said it was awful.
Yeah. Yeah. That feels depressingly accurate, because you're right. Like, at least with Google, as far as we know, they're being pretty upfront with us. Like, we're going to take this. If you want this product, we're going to take this data. Yeah. Do you want to trade? We'll trade. And Facebook's like, no, we're going to just take it all. And how dare you ask us not to? Like, truly, you want to see what data we have on? Fine, because we have to. But yeah, like, it upsets
me.
The
EU wants to clamp down on this hard, which is going to be like, because they've already clamped down with GDPR and with cookie rules, and we either follow their regulations or the companies will pull out. And they've already passed laws that will allow them to basically line item veto content on social networks at a government level, and that is completely unconstitutional in the US.
It's not. I don't know that we want the government having that power.
No, well, I mean, it depends. If you listen to the Twitters, they're super upset about the lack of freedom of speech, and so they want to nationalize the companies. This is the logic level we have on Twitter these days.
That's what actually, you got this call, especially like during the election season. You had this call from a lot of people to repeal Section 230.
Yes,
which I don't think it does it doesn't do what they think it does. One of the most immediate effects is Twitter and Facebook would clamp down hard on misinformation. They'd have to say, this isn't true. It can't be on the platform, because it is, because having it on the platform opens us up to being sued by the government.
But a great deal of content is based on ignorance, Joe. So
much content's based on ignorance. And not even getting to like sort of political ignorance and fact-based political ignorance. I mean, like, look how many shows and movies are based on the 10% myth about your brain. Like,
there's
that
this
alone.
thing that Georgia has to explain to me at some point, but there's like, you read a newspaper article about a field that you know well, and you see how completely wrong it is. Like, it's just because it's often not a beat. Like, the reviewers are good. It happens in every paper. The people who like review things are good at it, but the general beat reporters, they could have transferred over from the tobacco desk 3 days ago. You don't know. And they don't know the subject that well. They've just been told to write this about it. So they do their best. They write something, but you're a subject matter expert. You read it's like, this is riddled with mistakes. Then you turn the page and you read something that you don't know about, and you assume it's 100% factually accurate. There's like this complete disconnect between the stuff you know and don't know and your perceived accuracy level. And that's just modern social media writ large, where everybody can be a publisher.
Yeah, it's like this weird sort of offbeat cousin to confirmation bias.
Yeah. It's ignorance bias.
Ignorance bias. Yeah. All right. So moving on from ignorance bias and moving off of Facebook, because let's do that.
Doesn't get angry.
Yeah, I could get angry all day. So we've got, this is one of those things. I'm kind of glad George is not here this week, because we got some AirTag stuff to talk about, and I don't want to see the sadness interface.
Womp womp.
Well, and it's not even like it's bad news. It's just it's just getting weird at this point, guys. Is what I think about AirTags. So we've been hearing about them for over a year. AirTags, little small tags that'll help you locate objects. They're about the size, I guess we're hearing, of a bottle cap, although the rumors are there are two different sizes, a small and a large. I would venture a guess that bottle cap is small. If two sizes exist, I would bet the bottle cap is small. But this week, and actually, it's this week that we're finding out about it, but these leaks kind of go back a bit. We've had some leaks of some more third-party AirTag accessories.
Yeah.
In this case, in this particular case, it's from Cyril. Okay, so this is a Spigen brand.
Spigen?
I always said it's Spigen in my head, but I don't know.
Now,
Spigen and Cyril are like either the same company or sister companies.
Yeah, Cyril is part of the Spigen brand overall. Now the site is now down, but for a while it wasn't. It's this.
Oh, it was up when I checked this morning.
Yeah, but now
down since then.
Well, I'm getting a 404 page not found.
Interesting.
On this, so yes, this is interesting. They knew we were going to talk about it. So what we're talking about here, what we're talking around, is this keychain. Now, this keychain, so it's like a gold keychain, right, Karen? With a like a leather.
The AirTag just pops right inside of it.
Yeah, there's like a little, a clasp, like a button clasp, and you open it up and you throw the AirTag and close it up, and now you just have like a leather dongle for your keychain.
Yeah, which is great. It's a great way to attach your AirTag to your keys. If AirTag actually exists ever.
Yeah. So Karen, what do we make of this? Like, do we think AirTags are like imminent, or?
I mean, generally Cyril is it's a known company. I have a Cyril I have a bunch of Cyril cases. I mean, it's a legit company. It's not just some fly-by-night company I never heard of. Generally, the third-party companies get the specs for Apple products before the general public does, so that they can make cases that are available on day one. So, I mean, it seems kind of odd that they would produce something that they don't have specs for. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, why would they make it? Why would they put it out?
They usually exfiltrate. Like there's a whole network. It's the same way that Guomingji gets all of his leaks. There's a whole network of back channels where they smuggle CAD renders and specs and plans out to the accessory makers so they can try to have stuff out when Apple launches. And Apple was probably planning to launch last fall, but then they delayed until March. But all these companies have gotten so used to, once they see the stuff ramping up for production, just going turning all the dials to 10, that they got all this stuff ready expecting to launch, and then it didn't happen. So now they're sitting on it.
Okay, so it's not official channels then?
No, Apple doesn't trust anybody. They don't trust anybody with it.
Well,
I always wondered, because I get stuff really early sometimes.
Yeah, it's the same leaks you see from like On Leaks and places like that.
Okay, so they're just going purely on leaks, on unofficial leaks.
It's a lot. It's a big business where people in the factories will like smuggle the stuff out for remuneration. I don't want to make any legal accusations here, but it's a well-known back channel network to get all this stuff.
It's really, it's more official than they read like iMore or another site with a rumor on it, but it's less official than Apple giving them a document.
Yeah. Well, long story short, I wouldn't buy any of those third-party products based on AirTags just yet. Wait until Apple actually announces AirTags before buying anything like that. That's, for my money, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Unless you're a weird collector.
I mean, I know it's exciting to be like the first to have something, but yeah, I would at least wait for the official announcement.
It's like just this side of being an iPod Hi-Fi owner still in 2021. It's like it's just on the other side of the weird line of buying accessories for Apple products that don't yet exist.
Yeah, because it does look like a good idea. It looks like a nice product. Just if you don't have an AirTag, it's completely useless. That's the only thing.
Yeah, there's nothing else is going to fit. I mean, I don't think a Chipolo is going to fit in there.
It's not going to fit a tile. Tiles are square. This
tile's not going to need it, because this is the other thing for me. The tile, Tile, Chipolo, they have holes in their
so they're their own keychains already.
Yeah, so you can just put them on a key ring already, but.
Yeah.
No, you can't have. We're not going to just punch holes in Apple products, guys. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We have to have like $20 accessories.
I guess it would be the kind of thing like I would maybe bookmark it or put it on my Pinterest board or something like that just to hang on to it. But I wouldn't purchase anything like that just yet.
Yeah, and that actually, so this was advertised on the site. First of all, there was a notation on the site earlier in the week, when it was up, that these are for AirTags 2020, which just goes to show, yeah, what Renee was saying is true. They expected them last year, but yeah, it makes me think. I had a thought and I lost it. There we go. Awesome. It's been a week, guys. Oh man, AirTags. I'm ready for them to be out. I'm ready to stop speculating.
I feel like there's something more to say about them. It's like
they're small. They're going to help you find
let's
stuff.
See them. Like let's hear about it, Apple.
In the time that we've been hearing about AirTags, Samsung has conceived and then launched their own set of tracking tile things. The Galaxy Smart Tags. What are we waiting?
They may just go the way of the AirPod anyway, so we don't know.
I just I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it to be done, Karen. It's enough. All right. You know what? I'm going to call it a little early today, except to say, actually, you know what? No, I have one more thing.
We didn't talk about the walking.
Wait, you have one more thing?
I have actually, yes, one more thing.
The time to walk audio experiences.
Time to walk?
Yeah.
I did 3 of them in preparation for this, so I could talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit. I haven't tried it out yet. There's this call and it was so long and I had to transcribe it.
Yeah. I've done 3 so far. I did Shawn Mendes, Dolly Parton, and Uzo.
Do you have a favorite?
Diva, I want to say. Actually, I think I like the Uzos the best.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat. So it's basically just a podcast monologue type thing to keep you company while you walk. And there'll be some celebrity walking somewhere and they'll tell you where they're walking and what they're seeing. And you'll hear nature sounds in the background. I don't know if those are added after the fact. And Uzo is walking her dog. So she's talking to her dog sometimes and telling it to do things while she's walking. And then pictures will randomly pop up on your watch. As they're talking, they'll be talking about their childhood. And then boom, you'll see a childhood picture of the celebrity on your watch, which is kind of fun. And then they'll talk about some music that they particularly like. Of course, Dolly Parton and Shawn Mendes talked about their own music, but Uzo talked about songs that she liked, that she would sing with her sister growing up, or that reminded her of her childhood, or various things. They sort of intersperse. The music tends to be at the end of the program. Yeah. It's kind of cute. I like Dolly Parton's. I really like too. Shawn, I could do without because I don't really know him. So
is this an Apple or a Fitness Plus exclusive feature?
Yes, okay. It's on Fitness Plus and it's on your Apple Watch. You can only do it on your Apple Watch, and you have to use headphones.
Yeah,
or Bluetooth headphones with your watch.
Apple would obviously AirPods.
It would work with AirPods, but I used another brand and it worked with that, and it kind of prompted me through it, so it made it really easy to do.
Yeah, the switch for this feature showed up early in the iOS 14.4 beta cycle, where it was in the Watch app there, but it didn't actually go live until this week on, was it Monday?
Yes.
It didn't come with the update, right? You didn't need WatchOS 7.3 for it?
No. I'm not sure. The thing that I found curious is that it wasn't just a podcast. It wasn't just an audiobook. The people, at least so far, actually out there walking with you and talking about walking. So it's a very different vibe. You can't answer them back. It's not a conversation. They're not walking with you, but it's like you're going on a tourist walk or something in a city and they're just walking ahead of you and talking about interesting things as you walk.
Yeah, and some of them actually will put pictures of the places where they're walking, so that you can see that on your Apple Watch, an actual picture of the place where they're walking, which is kind of neat. Uzo did that.
I can't see them because it's so cold here. We're all wearing Bernie mittens, and it just covers the wall.
Everyone in Canada is currently the Bernie meme.
Yeah, yes. Well, I did it on my treadmill because I haven't set foot outside in 3 days. like at all.
No, why would you?
It's cold and yucky, and
Yeah, it's cold here. I can only imagine what it's like in the Great Lakes.
well, it just
You're in the
figure
same state, aren't
whatever
you?
whether you're having, Joe, it's 10 degrees colder here,
Yeah.
and whatever snow you get, just figure we got like another 6 to 8 inches.
It's that lake effect, Renee. She lives near a Great Lake, and I don't.
I live on an island in the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Are you on an island, really?
Montreal's an island, yeah.
No, is that really?
Yeah.
I need
An
to
island
brush
in the
up on
middle
my
of St. Lawrence.
We're
Like,
Americans. We don't know anything about other countries. It's not.
Especially not Canada. I'm sorry, it's terrible.
You're right there.
I
I
know.
can get you guys by boat.
I know.
drove
I could be in Canada in just a few hours, but I haven't.
I'm like 30 minutes, 40 minutes from Plattsburgh, New York.
That's where you go to get like iPads back in the day. What isn't it, Renee?
Albany. That was so funny. Yeah.
I think I saw like a video clip of you coming to America to get a hold of an iPad.
Yep.
Was that a thing? Was that something that you did like a long time ago?
Yeah, I used to do that all the time. I used to do that because the first two iPads were in the US, I think a month before Canada. I think some of the iPhones too came out first. Like I think I had an iPhone 4S or something before. No, 4, maybe iPhone 4, I think, before it came out in Canada.
Getting nostalgic a little bit, thinking back, during the iPhone 3G launch, Steve Jobs was up on stage and like, now we launched iPhone in like these 6 countries, but they're in operation in a whole lot more. And it had the giant map and they started pointing out different countries. Was Canada one of the countries that it wasn't supposed to be in, Renee?
First one?
Yeah. Did the first iPhone launch like day and date? Or at least
no, it only launched in the US and then it eventually came to the UK, Ireland, and I think Orange in France. The 3G was the first one that went international, and Steve Jobs stood in front of that map and he goes, "Oh, we're like in 5 places now. Look at this map." And they're like, boom, 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 boom.
Arrows, bunch of red arrows pointing to like Canada and Brazil and a bunch of places around the world. All right, I think we're coming down to the end of our hour here, folks. So I think we're going to sign off for the week. I want to say thanks to our live listeners as always. You guys always make it fun. Great comments this week.
Yeah, and I want to say, even if we don't respond to you directly during the show, we do appreciate your comments. And hello, everybody. It's nice to see you here.
It is. And of course, also thank you to the people who listen later in their podcatcher of choice. As always, thank you to the great Jim Metzendorf, who makes us sound wonderful each and every week. He's our editor. Renee, thanks for joining us this week as our special guest.
Thank
Karen,
you so much.
It's always great to have you as a co-host.
Great to be here.
Yeah. All right. And for this week, this has been the iMore Show.